An ex-staffer for the Department of Government Efficiency has admitted to what we already knew. In a recent interview, he talked about, you know what? Turns out that all that alleged waste, fraud, and abuse in the government wasn't actually there. It was, quote, relatively non-existent. Shocker. Shocker. Now, this is ex-staffer Sahil Lavingia speaking to NPR's Juana Summers, and said that during his short time embedded with Doge, embedded in the Department of Veterans Affairs while he was working for Doge, he found that the government was actually quite efficient. Oh, wow. Quote, I was personally pretty surprised. Oh, were you? Could have told you that. I mean, look, the real waste, fraud, and abuse is never inside the programs that actually help people. Those are watched over like a hawk. All right? No, the real waste, fraud, and abuse exists inside programs that help rich people. I'm just saying, like defense contractors. I'll get to more on that. All right? But first, Lavinia was apparently a successful software developer and the founder of something called Gumroad, a platform for online sales, when he had joined Doge back in March. Lavinia said he had previously sought to work for the U.S. Digital Service, the technology unit that was renamed and restructured by the Trump administration into Doge. He told NPR that he just wanted to make government websites easier for citizens to use and didn't really care which administration he was working for. That is despite the protests from his friends and family, who apparently knew better. They knew what was up with this whole thing, with the Trump regime. But this guy apparently didn't until he was actually there and realized, not only are we not transparent here, and I'm getting ahead of myself, but also, where's all the waste, fraud, and abuse that we were promised? Now, Lavinia said that the overall message at Doge was transparency. Ha ha. oh, transparency. It's good.
Really?
Yeah, okay. And a vibe of ask for forgiveness, not permission, which goes along with what we already knew. Again, their entire process of doing things is basically move fast and break things. That was their MO. That's exactly what they did. They moved fast and they broke all sorts of things. Disastrous. So now in this interview with a blogger, which eventually led to his firing, which again, funny, here's what he said, quote, Elon was pretty clear about how he wanted Doge to be maximally transparent. That's something he said a lot in private and publicly. And so I thought, okay, cool. I'll take him at his word. I will be transparent. Well, that was a mistake now, wasn't it? And funny enough, shortly after this interview was published online, Lavinia was, of course, fired for being apparently too transparent. Oops. But when he was asked about what he found, here was his answer. He said, quote, I did not find the federal government to be rife with waste, fraud, and abuse. I was expecting some more easy wins. Really? I was hoping for an opportunity to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. And I do believe that there is a lot of waste. I will agree, but it's in the Pentagon. Okay, there's minimal amounts of fraud, he says, and abuse to me feels relatively non-existent. And the reason is I think we have a bias as people coming from the tech industry where we worked at companies, such as Google, Facebook. These companies that have plenty of money are funded by investors and have lots of people kind of sitting around doing nothing. You know what? That's actually an interesting point. These companies are incredibly inefficient. Extremely, in fact. Private industry is way more inefficient than government is. There's a lot of administrative bloat in corporate America. A lot of middle management, right? And a lot of middle managers that are justifying their existence by pretty much just like spying on their employees at all times. They got to justify their job, their manager position, by micromanaging. That costs money. That's administrative bloat right there. All right. Now, look, the overheads here are absolutely insane at a lot of these companies. I mean, here's the thing. Take Medicare versus Medicare Advantage. Remember, Medicare, traditional Medicare is government administered, whereas Medicare Advantage is administered by private corporations. For example, United Healthcare. Yeah, you might have heard of them in the news recently. You know? Just saying. With some of the stuff that they've been accused of doing, and it's, again, after their CEO was murdered. Okay? Now, according to a report from the Medicare Payment Advisory Commission, or MedPAC, Medicare actually will pay 20% more for Medicare Advantage enrollees than for similar people that are enrolled in original Medicare at a cost of $84 billion. Why is that? Why is that? Well, it's because of companies like United Healthcare, which again, is one of the biggest companies involved in Medicare Advantage plans. They would deny up to 90% of legitimate claims from Medicare Advantage plans. Now, UHC was also caught upcoding patient diagnoses in order to boost the monthly payments received through the program. That is federal money that they have screwed the American taxpayer out of. Screwed over Medicare. Yeah. Now, not only that, and it's one of the reasons why they made billions of dollars, okay? But thing is, getting back to the efficiency, private insurance companies like UHC actually spend between 12 to 18% on their administrative costs. Medicare's administrative costs are actually less than 2%. So there you go. It just costs less for the government to actually administer these plans. And why? Why is that? It's because there is already a ton of pressure on government to fight waste, fraud, and abuse and cut costs. That's it, to make things more efficient. Now, I understand that in some places there is more that the government can do, right? But oftentimes they are hamstrung by Congress, who work more for their donors in the private industry than they do their constituents. All right, so that's very important to point out. That said, getting back to this guy, he was asked about why he was let go. Here's his answer. Unfortunately, they did not tell me directly. The reason that I was let go was because of my transparency. I don't know if irony is the right word, but I do think that it's maybe, as Elon says, the most entertaining outcome is the most likely, and letting someone go for being transparent in the most maximally transparent organization is a little bit entertaining. Well, look, the thing is, Doge, not transparent at all. They just made things up. They made a bunch of claims that, oh, look, we're saving so much money from doing this and doing that and doing this. Those were not true. They claimed to have saved about $171 billion, but that savings is in question, okay? Because what you've seen is them claiming that, oh, we saved money on this contract that had already been completed, money paid out and everything, so they didn't save anything, they saved shit. And then, of course, you've also had claims of canceling government contracts that were never actually canceled. They were still ongoing, or they had renegotiated terms and extensions. So no saved money. Okay, nowhere near 170 billion, much less $1 trillion. But you know what Doge did? They actually did get our personal information, which was likely the entire reason for it. Okay, to get our info, personal info, to either sell it or have it weaponized against us so we don't try to stop Peter Thiel and Elon Musk's tech bro takeover. I don't know. Whichever the reason, though, it is pretty funny and interesting to see another former employee get the wool pulled from their eyes. If only this could have happened sooner and en masse. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you become a member on our YouTube page, you become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.